Creative Katie here. Welcome to my channel and my version of the Index Card a Day Challenge and part of my Create Daily series. Today I'm using a prompt from week 6, color chart. And the technique that I'm going to be using is using black to build that bold contrast. So I'm starting with a page in my repurposed mini happy planner. I have a coat of gesso on here. In fact, I think there was a gel print on here that I didn't like, so there may be a coat of gesso on top. So there's already texture in there, and all I'm doing is putting all the colors of the rainbow and then some with a makeup sponge onto this background. I just want to build some bright colors in here since the prompt is color chart. I found a great quote that goes with colors, and it says, "Paint is only wasted if it stays in the tube." Sometimes as creators, we hoard our stash and we don't use what we deem as good quality art supplies because we're afraid to use it up. But it's only wasted if it stays in the tube. So break out those paints and get the color on the page and start creating with them. Honor your supplies by using them. So now that I have the color on there, there is the quote that I typed out in one of my fonts. Now this is a Kaisercraft stencil. It is actually a quarter of the stencil. There were 4 different textures on it, and I cut it into 6x6s just for ease of use and storage. I was going to cut a paint splat with my silhouette, but then I did the upgrade to my silhouette cameo and now it's non-functioning. Don't we all love technology? So I just decided I want to build some high contrast in here, so I am using black acrylic paint with a makeup sponge, and I'm applying it on there in various paint splatters. Now I thought about doing a black background and then doing the paint splatters in all the colors of the rainbow, and that is another option. You would still get that bold contrast, but I went for a simpler route, I guess, here. This is a quick, easy, very effective project. Now with the makeup sponge, when you're stenciling, what you don't see me doing is I dip it in the paint, the thick-bodied, heavy-bodied acrylic paint, it's Liquitex Basics, and then I'm patting off beside it so that the sponge isn't completely wet underneath, and I'm not pressing hard when I go down. That way you avoid it seeping under the stencil. However, for paint splatters, I don't know that that would necessarily matter. I've got black paint on my sponge, so I'm just going to edge this with the black acrylic paint right now. You know I typically do that all the time, so not a shock that I'm doing it again. So this whole video took under 20 minutes. So I'm liking the contrast, and I'm deciding, oh, can I just glue this whole thing down? And you know what? If you know me, 9 times out of 10, I don't just put the whole rectangle sentiment on there. So I'm cutting it up and playing with the orientation of the words. Now when I'm placing the words, I want your eye to start at the top and go down with the words. So as it is right now, I could have left it like that. I actually like that looking back right now, having the luxury of having it videoed and looking back. But obviously at the time it was like, no, that's not good enough. And I'm trying to avoid placing it over top of the black paint splatters. So I didn't cut a lot of this out because I want you to see that it doesn't matter how much art you do or how good you are at it. We all struggle, and it's a process of trial and error, of auditioning the pieces, trying it one way, trying it another way. Usually when I get into that mode, I almost end up telling myself, talking to myself, okay, Karen, let it go. It really doesn't matter. You're being too picky. Because sometimes overthinking it really causes us a lot more problems. So a lot of times in this situation, I would take a picture of it in the one arrangement, then decide, look in the camera, or walk away, come back, and look at it from afar. So I'm just giggling now at how much I played with these words. And I'm still cutting out more of them. The font that I picked, I pressed bold on because I wanted it to be as dark black as, so it read with the paint splatters that you're seeing. And I'm just gluing this down with gel medium matte finish. Matte means that it is not going to be shiny. I don't want it shiny. Typically, that's not the way I roll. I do that in certain applications, but for the most part, I use the matte finish. So after a quick dry, I decide that the background is simply too simple. So I grab my script stamp with the black archival ink, and of course now I have to avoid the words, and I stamp it a little bit, and I like that so much better. If you don't have a script stamp, use a music stamp or something that's rather fine. I'll put a link to the script stamp and the stencil, if I can find it, in the description box below under my Amazon links. So I grab out my Stabilo All Pencil, and I just want to make the words stand out. So I go underneath all of them, and then I use the blending tool, the Tortillon. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It just seems so awkward, the terminology for me. And I do top, bottom, and sides. Now, you can activate the Stabilo L pencil. I wanted more of a line than a shading look or fading look that you get when you activate it. I could have used my woodless charcoal pencil here as well. I could have also just outlined this with a black micron pen. But again, it could handle the darker black because of the colors and the paint splats in the back. Now I obviously lost the footage. You can see that I've splattered with gold paint on here as well. Just to add a little bit extra. So adding the script stamp and adding the splatters just knocked up this background. Sorry for that. I'm multitasking here and cooking and editing videos. And I just use the Stabilo All pencil around the edges, and this time I am activating it a little bit with water, just on a regular brush. So I'm giving this a dry, and that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping that you're enjoying the Index Card a Day series. I am pretty much wrapping it up. I think I've made about 40, in the 40s for them. So I'm quite happy with that. Thanks for watching again. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment.